Brandon Day from Daycool Heating and Air is joining me here on the Check a Pro radio show to answer some questions from you, the listener. Hey, Brandon, how are you today?
Pretty good. How about you?
I am living the dream. Thank you so much. Drip pans, very important to have it installed correctly and for them to function correctly. These are the pans that are underneath your air conditioning unit. And if you have an air conditioning system, especially above your head in the attic, which is relatively common, then you can have a big problem if that pan is not operating correctly. Can you tell me why it's so important, Brandon?
Yeah. So I think most people, if they have a horizontal unit or something in the attic, everybody sees a big shiny pan or plastic one, whatever. That's the backup pan. That's not your main pan. So if you ever see water in there, you already got an issue. So that's if the main pan and inside whatever piece of equipment you have ever backs up, that's your fail safe. Not only is that pan important, those float switches on that are important to where it's a floating piece of, some of them have like rubber in it or cork. It cuts the unit off if it backs up. So when that water ever gets past that, then that secondary catch pan is what's your next your armor against coming through sheetrock or tearing up ductwork or anything. And you also are supposed to have a float switch on that pan. So if it's have two rounds of backup, and we don't use them as often as we used to because people were complaining about them. But those little sirens, when they sense water, it's a water sensor, moisture sensor, it screams too. But, when those batteries fail, it's like when you're growing up, those little chick eggs you used to hold your finger over and they make
Yeah.
that chirping sound. Those things start doing that. We don't use them as often, but it's not code, but they're a good product to have.
Yeah. So sometimes people get to the point where they actually have a water leak in their ceiling, which comes through. The sheetrock can literally fall down onto furniture and carpet and flooring. And if it's gotten that far, a number of things have failed. So let's talk a little bit about how the system works, the air conditioning system. Part of what it does is it pulls moisture out of the air, the coils do. And that water has to go somewhere. It's supposed to be drained properly. You should never see the water in the pan if everything's running correctly. But that pan is, like you said, it's a secondary, it's a backup, and it's okay if there's water in there if it is clean and clear and the pipes running from that are unobstructed. So that's why it's so important to make sure the drain pan is installed correctly and clear of things. What do I mean by clear of things? Insulation, dirt, dust, things that just shouldn't be there, like Christmas decorations, right? You keep things away
Mm-hmm.
from that. When you guys go up into the attic to maintain a system, what do you do in terms of the pan? Do you clean it out with your hand? Do you blow air, put water in it to make sure it's draining? What do you do?
So on the main pan, like the one that nobody can really see,
Mm,
code here in Mobile requires access and such to be able to still get in there and suck it out, clean it out, blow it out, whatever. Different types of systems have different needs in reference to exiting drain pan. In the auxiliary pan, we have like those. We use those battery powered Milwaukee shop vacs, so we can
mm.
suck out any insulation, and they're non-intrusive. They're small and easy, and there's, I want to say, probably cable guys or something going through an attic, knocking, just moving by something, knocking insulation in there could cause $3,000 worth of sheetrock damage quick, just because that little piece of insulation floating over a little. Everything's gravity, so path of least resistance. If that pan gets clogged up by the smallest anything, it could be devastating.
It can be. I know, Brandon, you recommend at least twice a year for you and your team at Daycool to come out to your customers' homes to do an overall maintenance check, to do
Yeah.
what needs to be done. Generally, the fall and the spring are often recommended. And these are great times to be testing the system, to be going up there and looking at things. The condensation lines, if they're running correctly, need to be cleaned. Do you recommend the homeowner cleaning those out, or is that a service that you provide?
We do it. We provide it. As a rule, when we put a system in, we teach the guys to let the customer know to once a month, or 30 days, run hot water and white vinegar down the
Mm.
drain. Used to, people say bleach, this, that, and the other, but everything's aluminum coils now, and it's corrosive. When you pour bleach in a pan, you get formicary corrosion way faster than in that white chalk that you always see like on a boat after it gets that corrosion. Imagine that and that chalks up and can stop a drain. Not only make the coil fail, but that we kind of ask people to do that, but sometimes the senior customers can't do it. Sometimes it's hard to get to, and sometimes they've done it and they screw things up trying to just pull the cap off.
Mm.
So you kind of to take it like you think it'll roll.
Yeah, no, absolutely. The maintenance is so important. A lot of people wait until it's too late. It's often the hottest day in August, and they're like, "Yeah, I haven't had an air conditioning company come out in 5 years." Yeah, and you're going to have a failure. All of Brandon's information is located in the description of this podcast. There's no reason not to reach out to him and make an appointment. Brandon, as always, thank you for bringing your expertise to the Check a Pro Radio Show. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.